don't admit that they have ties to the Yakuza, you die that way.
Yeah.
Well, you die either way, so.
Yeah, you either die or you pay a lot of money.
I mean, if it's not going to be Konami that comes and gets us, it's going to be Disney, so.
Yeah.
This is the way it goes.
Yeah. I mean, again, the Mickey Mouse Riot Squad.
We still need a T-shirt of that. Like, somehow, we need to figure out how to put, like, one of us on a T-shirt just going, Disney sucks! And then you have just this tiny little dot on their forehead that looks like Mickey Mouse.
No, see, that's when you just have the face of one of us, like, looking, like, completely terrified, and then you just have, like, the whimpering word bubble saying, "It's a small world." Oh.
I like that better, actually. It's like, it's a small world. Or actually, no. You could either do, like, it's a small world, or like, when you wish upon a star.
Yeah.
Because apparently that was Walt's favorite song. So.
Well, I mean, that is why you always hear it in the...
Oh, there's the library reserve.
Okay. So we're making progress.
There we go. Library reserve key. Loud music? No loud music.
No static, which means no enemies.
Body? Is that a body?
It's either a body or a book. It's so decayed it's hard to tell. Okay.
Oh, this is already throwing me off because all the books are red. So it's like, okay, that's a lot of ammo. Wait, that's books.
And...
A box?
Okay, so I'm guessing that was our footsteps because I heard like a knock.
No useful book. Oh, jeez, another body.
It's like, no useful... Okay.
What's this? The Monster Lurks. It's the book's title. Manifest... Oh, go ahead and watch.
Chapter 3, Manifestation of Delusions. Poltergeists are among these. Negative emotions like fear, worry, or stress manifest into external energy with physical effects. Nightmares have, in some cases, been shown to trigger them. However, such phenomena do not appear to happen to just anyone. Although it's not clear why, adolescents, especially girls, are prone to such occurrences.
Is that what they're basically saying Silent Hill is? A poltergeist?
No, that could be what they're teasing. That could be why things are centering around Cheryl.
Can we please find the Indian burial ground that was defiled?
Oddly enough, there actually was no Indian burial ground in either version of Poltergeist.
No.
Like a lot of people like, oh yeah, it was built on an Indian burial ground, but that actually isn't in the movie. Like, it's funny because I thought, like, oh, that was a change of the it, but when I watched the original, I'm just like, oh no, that was actually never.
No, I only know it because of, like, the joke that gets made in, like, Futurama and The Simpsons.
Yeah, it's just people think, oh, it's the poltergeist in movies were caused by building on an Indian burial ground, but no, there actually is no Indian burial ground in the movie.
Yeah, I think I've told this story on the podcast, but, like, poltergeist was outlawed in our house.
Yeah.
It scared the bejeebers out of my older brother and my dad, so they're just like, nope, can't bring it in, can't watch it, can't do anything like that. Which was surprising years later when Andrea was watching it when we were just barely married and my dad didn't freak out.
Hearing this, the hunter armed with the bow and arrow said, "I will kill the lizard." But upon meeting his opponent, he held back, taunting, "Who's afraid of a reptile?" Well, I mean, we've played Mortal Kombat, we've got plenty of reason. And I mean, we've played Spider-Man. And, well, Godzilla's a reptile, so, I mean, yeah.
Hey, I'm pro Godzilla, all right?
Well, it depends on which era we're talking here.
King of the Monsters this May.
Yep.
All right?
At this, the furious lizard hissed, "I'll swallow you up in a single bite."
Yeah, that sounds like Godzilla.
Oh, yeah, this is what happens when you walk in on Godzilla when he's on the John. Then the huge creature attacked, jaws opened wide. This was what the man wanted. Calmly drawing his bow, he shot into the lizard's gaping mouth. Effortlessly, the arrow flew, piercing the defenseless maw, and the lizard fell down dead.
Oh, so it's Smaug. Because he was felled by an arrow. This is from an old fairy tale I remember reading as a kid.
So it is Smaug.
There you go. Thanks, Tolkien. Oh, and good, bullets.
Yay.
All right, we needed those. But now we have more books to look at, I guess. No, I don't think there's really anything else in this room.
Nope. Just a weird book about a guy killing a lizard.
Yep.
That may or may not be Smaug.
You know, this really sucks because we actually we don't have Bard with us, and Bard was the one that killed Smaug.
Well, but to be fair, Bard is just an ascended extra, so, I mean, anyone could kind of fill the part.
Yeah, true. Maybe we could fill it with Aragorn?
Well, maybe.
That's how the Hobbit movies tried to portray Bard.
Yeah. And I mean, consider...
Which, for the record, I wasn't against that in those movies. I was okay with it, but the problem is that poor Luke Evans, he did not get any focus in that.
No, because they decided to add a dang love triangle.
Yes.
That nobody cared about, not even the actors.
Which is funny because now even Orlando Bloom acknowledges, yeah, that was kind of a dumb idea.
Yeah.
Like, I shouldn't have asked to come back.
I mean, when you look at behind the scenes where they're just like, okay, it's a two, like this is the second film, or is it 2 or is it 3? And then when there's like, oh, it's 3, and he's just like, oh god, it's 3.
Mm-hmm. That's the thing that I found the most interesting is Orlando even is kind of looking at it and going, yeah, maybe I was a little over anxious. I just wanted the old days back, and so I kind of cost the film a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, you kind of did, Orlando.
Yeah, and even then, it's kind of a case of where Legolas being in the movies could have worked if they didn't try to treat The Hobbit as a prequel to Lord of the Rings.
Well, think about it. Like, one of the things that made Legolas so popular was because he wasn't a focus. But he was a side character that got a lot of badass moments. And that's why Legolas worked. Like, I mean, whenever I ask people Legolas's finest moments, it's him skating down the stairs at Helm's Deep on a shield. It was him slaying an Oliphant on his own, kind of thing. Those were just badass moments that were written out of nowhere. And instead, here's the problem. Peter Jackson wrote those out of nowhere, and in The Hobbit, they intentionally tried to create those moments.
Mm-hmm.
You don't force greatness like that.
Yeah, especially when it kind of goes against what happens in the actual novel.
Mm-hmm.
Like the whole Bilbo earning Thorin's favor because he shoulder tackled an orc instead of when it would have actually happened, like in the story with him getting everyone out in the barrels, which was supposed to be Bilbo's moment of, hey, I'm actually useful.
But instead, we had to make the barrels a funny moment, and therefore we lose that impact.
Yeah.
Look.
Like, Lindsay Ellis's videos on it pretty much summarize all the problems better than we could in the span of
I have no particular major beef with the Hobbit movies. I can still go back to them and watch them. But they aren't right, and they definitely tried to take some liberties to make it more action-oriented that weren't necessary to make that story work, at least to me.
Okay, so that leads to the roof. We didn't really find anything there.
Can we do anything on the roof now?
Well, let's find out.
Maybe we can actually interact with the valve now.
Okay.
Well, there it is. There's a drainage valve, nothing unusual.
So the answer
nothing
is
unusual. I just barely noticed that circle right above it. Nothing unusual, huh, Harry?
Well, I mean, it's a school in a very bad area. Graffiti is just to be expected.
Guess so. So, yeah, this is gonna get me in trouble. So basically, the circles on the wall are just from some random Full Metal Alchemist fan.
Yeah. I mean, this is what.
Don't leave your controversy here with us, please.
Yeah, I mean,
really don't want it.
Yeah, I mean, this is what happens when anime fans form gangs in West Valley.
Exactly. There you go. Every anime con is now forever in danger in the West Valley area.
I wish that wasn't an exaggeration.
Yeah.
There are some. Again, I speak as someone who lives in the West Valley area. There's some crazy individuals.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's not as bad as it was back in the early days of conventions being a thing here in Utah, but, well, I guess no matter the fandom, there always is going to be someone.
I'll tell you right here now, like, considering all the controversy that we're dealing with this year, I'm actually debating whether or not it's even a good idea to go to a convention this year.
Yeah.
Not necessarily just for, like, possible protesters, but also for just basically getting kicked out for whatever you're wearing, whatever you did, even if you're not even remotely involved with the movement.
Or if you breathe out the wrong nostril in a way that triggers them.
Yeah. The other one that got me off or caught me off guard was I can't remember which one it was, but there's a I don't even think it's an anime con. It was a convention in the East Coast where they're trying to prevent the spawning of con flu, because con flu is just nasty when you get it. And so they actually will say if we remotely catch you excessively coughing or sneezing, we will either make you wear a mask or we'll kick you out of the building.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I'm not sure if I'm okay with that, especially considering what I know some people pay for these conventions.
Mm-hmm.
Because in some cases, in particular, a lot of podcasters that I follow, like, they'll travel, which means you have to pay for the plane, you have to pay for room and board, and then you have to pay for the convention and whatever cosplay you're doing. So that gets pretty expensive.
Mm-hmm. I'm surprised nobody's actually tried making a zombie movie set at a convention. Like, the idea is just, like, right there.
Well, technically, this isn't a con, but Andrea is actually... My wife Andrea has been part of a zombie set. So.
Yeah.
They actually, like... It was, like, extra credit for one of her nursing classes. They tried to create this educational thing about what to do in a post-apocalyptic scenario. And so they literally, like, painted everybody up, like, to be dead, and then I think even some of them got up. Andrea wasn't one of them, but... Yeah, just think about getting extra credit for that in a medical course.
Yeah, that's something that I've seen at Slick a few times. I remember back, because there was this old building that used to be the administration building that, when the process of tearing it down, they decided before they actually brought in the wrecking ball, they would have it be dilapidated so that people could run, like, drills for responding to disasters. Of course, that led to... the destruction of that building led to a whole bunch of controversy that I had to deal with as a writer for the college paper, because our college, for context, had a cosmetology department where you could get haircuts super cheap.
Which was in the same building.
Yeah, and basically they decided to get rid of the program because it would have cost too much to retrofit it. But here's where things get interesting. A bunch of private donors stepped up to actually fund and pay for the retrofitting, and the president of college said no.
Yep. Hence why that, if I remember correctly, that was basically because not only that, like, you had private donors and some of them were alumni.
Mm-hmm.
And so at that point, that's when we transitioned from one president of the college or dean of the college to another.
It was president because it was...
Yeah, president of the college, because of that situation.
Yeah.
And fortunately, Slick didn't get better after that.
Yeah, and it also gave rise to probably one of the most frustrating student groups that we ever had to deal with. They called themselves the Revolutionary Students Union. And we would send, and again, I used to write for the college paper. We would send reporters to try to like talk to them and get information, and they'd always say, "Oh yeah, go check the website. Go check the website." We'd check the website, and there was nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, of course.
I think I had one dealing with them, and it was just they were looking to do some kind of event, and this is a very similar story because I dealt with this a lot, where somebody was hoping to be able to get commercials on the radio station, and they didn't realize that they needed to pay for them.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm not your cashier. I was not allowed to be able to handle the money, so I had to send them to the head of the radio station. And everybody, I'm not even kidding you, like 80% of the people I talked to took that as a glorified brush off. And I wasn't brushing them off. I couldn't do anything.
Yeah. Of course, I don't really put much stock in any group that claims that they're for a peaceful revolution and then they have a Che Guevara shirt on.
Yeah. Well, I mean, peaceful revolution. In this day and age, it's a bit of an oxymoron.
It is, but I mean, it's doable.
It's doable, but nobody's going for it.
Yeah, because peaceful revolution is hard. Doing things the non-violent way is hard and dangerous and scary, and people want fast results.
Yep. Oh, geez. Kind of going back to the cons, though, because like this is going to be another one of those things where I don't even know if I want to go to a college campus these days anymore, just because of how nasty things are getting. Plus, with cons, given the atmosphere that we're probably going to be dealing with this year, I don't know if I want to go.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing. The podcast attends a con. And like we actually try and go and do panels and be able to go out and meet you guys, and I'm like sitting there going, I don't know if this is a good year to do that.
All right. Well, let's.
Okay, so we checked the library reserve.
And we got some stuff, but
Yeah. So at that point, what other rooms do we have? Oh,
well, because there was the boiler room.
can we go back downstairs?
Well, the problem is not so much going back downstairs; it's getting to that other side. But all the areas leading to it are blocked or locked.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we need to find some kind of key
Yeah.
to be able to unlock it.
Well, let's see. What items do we have? All right, so we've got a rubber ball, mostly ammo.
Shotgun.
So no real key items.
Okay, I know some horror games will use a shotgun as like an unlocking device, just because you have to shoot a chain or whatever.
Apparently,
Is that
this can be used, but for what?
used by children?
Yeah, but like it actually has a use command.
Yeah, I know. Just like, could we have used it on the demon children?
I'm not sure about that. It's more, I'm thinking, okay, what puzzle calls for the rubber ball?
I don't know. You know what? It's time for me to spoil a little bit so that we can move forward
and not wander around aimlessly for.
And actually, while I'm doing that, I'm gonna go ahead and set the record straight really quick. So sorry to interrupt the conversation that we're having, but this is actually coming in from a listener who's a friend of mine who actually thinks that I gave Romney a little bit of a brush off as well, because a lot of people might notice last year a lot of stuff that Romney was talking about was basically, without talking into your mouth, you went through a lot of personal changes last year. And apparently a few listeners whom I know actually are basically saying I kind of gave you the brush off and I didn't even acknowledge that you made these personal changes. Okay. I think for the record, I did.
Yeah.
I did off camera. I know I did off camera.
Yeah, and again, it's kind of one of those things where stuff happens in our personal lives, but
yes,
we try not to bring them into the show unless it's pertinent.
Yeah, so, like, I think I did that, and I think I swear, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that I acknowledged it in one of the podcasts. But if I didn't, for the record, kick ass, Romney. Like, a lot of the changes that you were actually going through, I've actually been fairly proud of you. So.
Yeah, and I mean, I did actually shoot a video last night at the time of recording. Well, not last night, like a couple nights before I exported it, but I ultimately it was actually going to discuss all the changes, but I ultimately decided not to upload it because it just wasn't a good video. Like, it wasn't even like it's maybe, like, I want to keep it in my storage. It's like, no, it was just 30 minutes of me ranting. No one wants to watch that.
I've had a lot of vlogs that, like, I record it, and then all of a sudden I'm like, no, I don't want to put that up.
That, and some of the stuff I was saying, I kind of realized, okay, I'm not saying this because I genuinely want to talk about this. I'm just doing this to try to get attention from specific individuals outside of the usual Geek News group, and I realized I'm just like, that's kind of pointless and petty. Let's not.
Yeah.
Dude, let's not start a flame war.
Yeah, and so at that point, if people are thinking that we've been giving Romney the shot, it's not that.
No, like
because I know you and I have had some of these conversations off camera.
Yeah, and we just kind of have this unwritten rule that personal stuff comes first when it comes to any of the panelists on the podcast. If it's like family stuff, personal stuff, like that always has to take priority.
Exactly, and so at that point, if that's frustrating to some, it's probably better that way. Like, yeah, I know that I bring up personal stuff in my life just because I feel comfortable doing that, but there are some things in my life I don't feel.
Yeah, and again, it's like I mentioned when Brinton and I talked about it when we were discussing burnout. You got to set those boundaries of what you're willing to share and what you want to keep to yourself.
Yeah. And yeah, because that's one of the things I'm actually kind of noticing a lot with YouTubers and podcasters these days is some of them don't know how to define that line. And some people will just leave their podcast because they don't want to know that much about their lives.
Well, yeah.
Kind of thing.
I mean, when you consider it, we're growing up in a generation where a lot of kids are literally going to be growing up getting used to having cameras in their faces and getting pictures taken and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, in the past, the only kids who had to deal with that were children of celebrities and all the psychological problems that came with. But now we're entering an era where that now basically kids, social media has become like a steady fixture for people's lives at a much younger age than ever before.
Yeah.
And so this is kind of the era we're heading in, where we're starting to kind of forget the importance of setting those boundaries.